everybody, today we're going to be talking a little bit more about Bravas. Now if you haven't seen our last video, I'll put a link to the video where we talked a lot about Bravas. We walked through the entirety of the platform and we enroll a device using a profile. Today we're going to be walking through the process of enrolling a device that's already enrolled and provisioned in Apple Business Manager. And if you're not familiar with this approach, it's a zero-touch approach to deploying devices through an MDM so that when the user gets the device, it's automatically going to configure it just for them using the specifications that we outline here in Bravas. So like most MDM providers, you need to associate the device to the user. We've already done that by generating a one-time passcode. Now if you are unfamiliar with that in Bravas, all you have to do is navigate to the Operate tab here and go to the user directory and find the user that you wish to associate the device to. Now, what you would normally do in a normal MDM, or a typical MDM, I guess I should say, is that you would simply assign the user to the device or associate the user to the device. In Bravas, however, what you're going to do is go to Manage Devices and you're going to generate a code. Now this code is what is going to tell the device how to enroll. Okay, so before we can use this code, we really need to ensure that we have proper group associations to this user. The group association is what is going to tell the computer exactly how to configure itself for the user. So in this case, I have the user in two groups, the Bravas group and the help desk group. So let's take a little look at that group, those two groups, and see what's inside of them. To configure a group or to see what's inside the groups, you first need to go to the Configure tab and you want to find your way down to the Company Groups section. You can see here that we've got several groups to work with. If I click on the Bravas group, you can see here that I have associated myself to this group. You can also see the applications in the group by going down to Link Groups under Applications. So the link groups show that we have Google Workspace, KeyCloak, Microsoft 365, Pipedrive, and WIMI, all associated. All the items down here, they're not associated. If I wanted to add Firefox, all I have to do is click on it, and now Firefox is associated, and I can save that change. Anybody in this group will now get Firefox automatically deployed. Same thing for the help desk. We can see that we have Google Workspace, Notion, and AirCall set up for the help desk users. Now I might also want to install, let's just say, Zendesk. Zendesk is a help desk utility. It's a ticketing system. Probably want that for my help desk users. So I have multiple groups, and what we're going to see here is Bravas stacking and merging the contents of these groups to create a unified custom deployment for my user, who is, as you saw on the previous screen, in both groups. All right, now let's go back to the user account. So if we go back to Operate and we go to User Directory, you'll also notice that we have an authentication token associated. Now, the authentication token is based on when I was first invited to Bravas. So this token was created on 7/31 and will be used for authentication. Now, the way Bravas gets around this, or how they implement this, is because Bravas is more than just an MDM. It's also an IDP, an Internet an IDP, and because of that, it can create, issue keys, and manage authentication for any system that's connected to it for identity management. All right, so because it's got that sort of in its back pocket, we are going to be able to see true passwordless setup when it comes to managing and authenticating to our email on the device when we first get it, which is unheard of. Typically you have to create initial password, then you have to disseminate that password, and managing passwords is really difficult. Then you typically need a third-party solution to manage the keys, and it can get really messy really fast. But with Bravos, we have everything under one logical hood. Now I want you to think about this. We have myself, John Brown, and I am a user. I, as a user, need to access groupings of applications and accounts. I, as a user, have an authentication token. I, as a user, have a managed device. So it's a very simple and easy to understand method of onboarding, yeah, you got it, the user, which is something that most MDMs struggle with. Most MDMs are very device-centric and not user-centric. And because of that, that's why it's so complicated to pull off what most would consider to be a standard onboarding. So again, Bravos has done a lot of great work to make the onboarding and the configuration of these complex elements and deploying them. So let's see how this deployment works in action. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and connect my test device, and we are going to set up the enrollment, the zero-touch enrollment for this setup. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just switch over to my connected enrolled device here. And here we are. And I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and just press English. And we're going to advance through this enrollment here. Okay, United States, yep. And not now for accessibility. I'm already connected to Wi-Fi, but I'm going to go ahead and just connect anyway. Just so that you can kind of see what the experience looks like. And as you can see here, remote management is enabled, and it's going to ask me for a code. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just take a look at what the code is. I'm going to generate a new code, and that code is 609. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in, 60954 and 309. And we're just going to go ahead and submit that. Now it's going to pull the Bravos server. It's going to identify me based on my code, which is an amazing piece of technology because most MDMs would simply know that the user is associated to the device, and it would automatically set up the device for that user. There isn't an authorization or authentication stage in the middle that forces the user to identify that they are who they say they are, because this code would only ever be sent to the user who's receiving the device. So if this device were intercepted in any way, then in a traditional MDM, that would be a problem. We're gonna go ahead and we're going to set an initial password, and this is required by Apple, by the way. This isn't a limitation on Bravos. We need to set up an initial password, but notice that my full name and last name are automatically created and pulled in from Bravos automatically, which is really great. It standardizes the short name, standardizes the full name. But going back to what I was saying in terms of zero touch, if we were setting this up with Jamf or Adigy or JONBROWN, we would simply see the MDM set up the device with the end user account information, and let's just say that this package was intercepted by somebody at FedEx, and they just happened to open the computer account. They could connect it to Wi-Fi, enrollment would happen, and the attacker would be put at the login screen for the new user, which is not what you want from a security perspective. What you want from a security perspective is a little bit of a challenge or some protections that the user that is getting the device is the actual correct user. And we're going to do Touch ID later. Now, it's it's going to go ahead and log me into the computer. And when it does that, it's going to start installing the software that we have deployed using those groups. And then once that's happened, it's going to automatically set up my access. And this is what's been happening in the background, is it provisioned my user account in Google Workspace, and it's going to authenticate me using that secure token. So a few mandatory pop-ups, and let's take a look at my fresh install. So you can see here that PowerPoint has already been installed super fast, by the way. Notion has already been installed. Remember, we're looking for Firefox and a couple other applications. Zendesk was one. So we're just going to kind of see how that operates. We can see here that we have the Bravos app launcher. Let's just take a look. And that's going to open up the browser, and what that's going to do is it's going to show me all the things that I'm authorized to access with my credential here. And again, passwordless. So if I click on Google Workspace, it's going to go ahead and automatically authenticate me, and it's going to set up my account. Boom, I didn't even need a password, and look at this, I'm already into Google Workspace. This is just amazing, and this is based on the configuration that we have set up in Bravos. So I'm going to go ahead and continue, and I'm not going to, yeah, sure, okay, and wonderful. There we go. So here we are, and I am now inside of my Google account. So as you can see, setup with Bravos and Zero Touch is a breeze. Now what happens if we want to repurpose this device? Maybe we're going to give this device to another user. Well, let's go in here and let's just take a look at our devices rather. So if we go to the IT fleet area, we can validate that this is the device associated with myself, and we can click on it and we can take some actions. So one of the actions we can do is we can mark the device as lost. If it's lost or stolen, we can put it in activation mode. We can restart it, we can force an inventory update, and we can click lifecycle. Now if we click on lifecycle, we can say this device is going to leave the organization, or this device will be used by someone else in the organization. That's exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this device, and we can see here that yes, wiping is irreversible. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to say yes, erase the device. Now let's take a look at what happens here once the device is wiped. We should see that command propagate down to the computer, and we should see that video signal here has been lost to the secondary computer. So as soon as this computer boots back up, and here we are, we should see that it's booting up into a brand new state for the new user, right? So it's booting up. We're seeing the progress bar, and again, the video feed is cutting out because the startup process is kind of interrupting it. But you get the picture. The wipe command went through very quickly, and now we are going to be able to repurpose this computer and reassociate it with a completely different user. All right, so let's wait for this to complete, and then we will see this hopefully bring us to the welcome to your new Mac screen. So let's take a look. All right, so here we are at the Apple screen. Again, this has just been wiped, so let's take a look and see what the experience is with Bravos. Alright, so the device is booting up. And we're at the activation screen, which is normal for a computer that has recently been wiped. And you can see here that it already has activated, so we're going to go ahead and just do another restart. Alright, famous chime. The computer is restarting. And here we are at the hello, welcome to your Mac screen. So at this point, we can go ahead and continue the setup. We can back to where we started initially. We can select our language. We can choose our country. We're not going to set up accessibility. We're going to connect to Wi-Fi. And again, this device is now back into a enrollment state. So this device can now be reassigned to another user, and assigning this to another user would be as simple as going to the fleet, clicking on IT users, and picking a different user to set this up with. So if we click on this user and go to manage devices, we can generate a code. And if we enter this user's code into the enrollment process, then now this device would be automatically assigned to this user. I hope that you found this video super helpful. Again, Bravas is an amazing tool that makes zero-touch enrollment for end users specifically very smooth. It makes setting up and deploying computers for end users super easy. So easy that anyone can do it. Anyone who's non-technical can do it. And it's a very secure method of setting up these devices, because we're asking the users to enter a variety of very simple security questions, like a token, like a code, and we're using passwordless technology, which is something that most MDMs just can't do because they don't have that identity provider backbone, that IDP. Very few do. There's a couple out there, but very few do. And Bravas is one of the ones who has embraced passwordless right out of the box. So if you're interested in trying out Bravas, put a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe for more content like this. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and stick around for the next installment in our Bravas series. Thanks for watching.